Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.
Hey guys, welcome in and happy final March 2022 here, the 31st, as we get ready to welcome in the month of April, but some unfinished business as we do have an NIT final here tonight. We also have 4 teams left before we crown a national championship in college hoops. And let us not forget baseball just around the corner. A lot to be excited about this time of year, especially tonight with a NIT final, as we welcome in 3 guys who are going to help you break down these Final Four matchups, this NIT matchup here tonight with Drew Martin up at the top, Steve Merrill right in the middle, and Dave Koken here with you guys on this Thursday. And Drew, crunch time, man. We're that close. It's Blue Blood Central, but let us not forget, we still have baseball coming up. You're going to be hosting a new season of First Pitch, and both of these guys will be there with you. So it's an exciting time of year. What do you got for us over at WagerTalk.com?
Absolutely, Joe. Thanks for having me on, man. And talking about the Final Four NIT championship tonight, and a lot of my time going towards the diamond now, doing some research, looking to release a season win total package here at WagerTalk.com. So excited for the bases. Fun time of year to be a sports bettor, Joe. And very excited to break these 3 games down with you and the heavy hitters, Steve Merrill and Dave Koken. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Perfect. 5% best bets. Crushed it here, guys. 21-10 with his 5% plays here this year. Just amazing stuff in college hoops, Drew. Congrats there. And I know Merrill, he too, man, he knows a little something about profits on the hardwood here. Get ready also for the MLB season. What do you got locked and loaded for us at Wager Talk today here, Steve?
Yeah, we'd be starting the MLB season tonight and tomorrow, but it's a 1-week delay. So a week from tonight, we'll be getting started next Thursday. Looking forward to that. By the way, Dave Koken was on Wager Talk today. Earlier, we talked a couple MLB season win totals, a couple 3% and 4% plays he gave out for free on the show. So I recommend going back here on Wager Talk TV and watching Wager Talk today, as always. But yeah, basketball's still in full swing. NBA's been really good for us. Had a nice winner last night. NBA sides now 104-68 the last 11 months. I'm going to have a strong NBA play tonight on my page. And also college hoops, of course, number 1 the last 2 years combined in sides there. I've got both sides for the Final Four and also a strong total. So a 3-pack available for the NCAA Final Four as well. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, still some unfinished business to go on. I realize there's still about a month left to go in the regular season of the NHL. Something Dave knows all too well. Profits galore, guys, certainly in the MLB and NHL as we await the season here. Dave, just a week away. You guys saw the opportunity to hop on board. It goes away here today. Great opportunity to grab season packages in the MLB. Dave, from 2019, guys, through last year, number 1 in the MLB in profits, not to mention the NHL been doing just crushing it there. What do you got for us tonight, Dave, at Wager Talk?
Yeah, I'm not crushing it in the NHL. The last few weeks have been horrible in the NHL, to be honest. So I'm going to just back off a little bit and wait for something really strong in hockey. Baseball, a lot of stuff up already. I've got 6 over and under win totals, including a 5% play. The two teams I talked about today on Wager Talk today, I also just tweeted out videos. One is on the Tigers, the other's on the Nationals. So you can follow me on Twitter at Dave Koken and see those previews. And those are both bets for me. And you mentioned this is the last day to get the big savings on Major League Baseball. I mean, it is a huge cut off the regular rate. So all I can tell you is the baseball has been real good for me for a long time. In the last 3 years combined at Wager Talk, I'm #1 in net profits. So looking forward to another good season. And if you want to get the season package, don't wait, because you're just going to cost yourself money if you do.
Yeah, no, don't do that, guys. Hop on board now. Take advantage of it here through the rest of the day today. Go grab it as we get ready for the MLB. And we get ready for an NIT battle here tonight. The final one, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, will welcome Texas A&M and the Xavier Musketeers here with A&M opening up as a 4-point favorites. Easily handling Washington State there. And Xavier, well, they'll come in as a dog. Total of 138 here. This will start 7 o'clock Eastern time. Man, I guess Buzz and company, Drew, they're still pissed off. And I doubt very much they're going to stop being pissed off tonight here with Xavier. So who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, Joe. I mean, first off, it's a great game in the NIT in Madison Square Garden here. I'm really excited to watch it as a fan, and as a handicapper, I think there's a lot of angles to go at here. It's kind of a tricky handicap in terms of who's going to control the game, the Xavier offense or the Texas A&M defense, which has been very stifling of late. And interestingly enough, this Xavier team, losing 8 of their last 10 down the stretch of the regular season and in the Big East tournament, but they've really turned it on. Their offense is humming. And at the same time, this Texas A&M defense, very athletic. Buzz Williams' squad, you're right, Joe. Whatever they're doing is motivation. Upset that they didn't get into the NCAA tournament. I personally think they should have, how they finished down the SEC, beating a lot of good teams. But hey, it is what it is, and they're in the championship of the NIT tonight. Again, excited to watch it. And I actually, if you need to play sidewise, I think Texas A&M, their defense does give Xavier some issues. Xavier going up against another SEC team, 2 games ago against Vanderbilt. That was a really close game. Texas A&M, I think, is a step above Vanderbilt. So I think Texas A&M gets it done sidewise, Joe.
Yeah, it was an interesting game against Bonaventure, Steve. It was a tale of 2 halves in that one. Yeah. And my goodness, I think they dropped 100 points in the second half in that one. But Xavier just too much too early in that game. What do you think Texas A&M does with Xavier here tonight?
Well, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of the NCAA. I think when hypocrisy is defined in the dictionary, they could use the NCAA as an example over the years. But I do think the committee does a very good job in general of leaving teams in and out. And the SEC vastly underperformed in the tournament this year. I know too well because I had Tennessee going pretty deep. That didn't last too long. Kentucky loses outright as a 2 seed in the first round. Alabama, Auburn get bumped. So the SEC maybe wasn't as good as we thought. So leaving A&M out maybe looks a little bit better now in hindsight, even though on the surface it looked like they were probably a tournament team when the selections were being made. So I'll give the committee credit on that. I think they made the right choice leaving A&M out, but I'll give A&M credit because they didn't fold over. You always have to be careful with these teams that are disappointed, and this was a team I was very cautious with early on. But once they get over that first NIT win, then normally all bets are off as far as the letdown. They usually play to win. And you look at both Xavier and A&M, they both failed to cover that first NIT game a couple weeks ago on March 15th. Xavier won by only, 4 points as an 11-point favorite over Cleveland State. Texas A&M got a very easy matchup against Alcorn. They're an 18.5-point favorite, only won by 12. But they went 3-0 straight up ATS since. Xavier is actually just 2-2 against the spread in their 4 wins here in the tournament. They did have that underdog win, as you mentioned, against St. Bonaventure. It was the only first time they were an underdog in the NIT. I actually liked Bonaventure the other night, so I was a little surprised by that. I thought it was a good matchup for St. Bonaventure. I thought they could slow the game down. As you said, Joe, second half especially, it was a high-scoring game, 161 points. And if Xavier can play fast again tonight, their preferred style, I think they're a live dog here, plus the 4.5. I think this game goes down to the wire and it'll be close. The best way to play it, though, I actually think might be the total. Normally championship games, playoff intensity games, I'll lean towards the under. But I think this total is a little too low, actually. And I do think Xavier is going to push the pace. And I think A&M is going to play faster than people expect. Their tempo rating for the season was pretty much dead average for the NCAAs, but their offensive rating is faster than average. So both offenses like to play up tempo, and I think it'll have a quick pace here. Both teams score the majority of their points from 2-point range. They allow more from 2-point range, so I don't think we have to worry about the random 3-point shot as much. And both teams get to the free throw line a lot. So I think we'll get a lot of 2-pointers, some free throws, and it's a championship game. If it's tight down the stretch, we might see some bonus fouls as well. I like over 137.5 in this game, and I would lean towards the dog as well, plus 4.5.
All right, leaning towards the dog and the over. Dave, give Xavier credit, man. I mean, shorthanded and all, and they here they are in the final. But does this run end tonight for them?
Well, I'm just going to look at this from a line analysis standpoint. Texas A&M has been the best team in the tournament, and the betting market is clearly recognizing that. And as a result, they've pushed this line out to a point where I don't think A&M is a smart play. They might get there. They might win by a dozen. But the line is higher than it ought to be based on the relative power ratings of the two teams, including with Scruggs docking Xavier points for Scruggs being out. The value at this point, because of the way the marketplace is reacting to Texas A&M, the value is with Xavier. I'm not a big proponent of just betting value in especially in tournament finals, though. I think you have to look at the matchup in current form. So I've got a conflict here. Current form, I think, clearly favors A&M. The line value favors Xavier. Take your choice. It really comes down to what you prefer as a bettor. If you're a value bettor, you take Xavier. If you're playing current form matchups, you take A&M. Me, I'm just going to sit the game out and I'll probably watch it. And maybe get involved in a live bet if I can see something unfolding during the game. But pregame, I really don't have anything.
Should be an interesting one, guys. Madison Square Garden, the final tonight. A&M, keep in mind, started that game against Washington State 3 of 21. And then they didn't miss. They really turned it on and found the sight lines there. So it should be an interesting one tonight as A&M looking to put an exclamation mark on the NIT, winning that title. Then, of course, there were 4 left here, guys. The final 4 will take center stage, and we'll take a look here at game number 1, which is going to face Villanova and Kansas here. Kansas opens up as a 3.5-point favorite. We know Justin Moore out. This has been pushed up to 4.5. The total opened right around 132. This will be the 6:09 start here, the first game on Saturday. And Merrill, no Justin Moore, obviously a big hit for Nova, but you got faith in Kansas covering this number?
Well, Dave talked about adjusted line value, right? And I think there's no question this line is higher than it should be. I made it around probably 2, and now it's 4.5. And Teddy Covers actually did this for his big game breakdown. So I recommend going back and watching Wager Talk today once again for that free advice on this game from Teddy. And he said it's more than priced into the line, and he thinks he might see some 5s out there. He's starting to see some 5s. So this line could climb higher. I think it's obviously a huge injury. And you hate to see it happen, by the way. It was 35 seconds left in the game. They basically beaten Houston already, and he gets hurt. Just hate to see that happen, especially when it's a star player. And one point Teddy did bring up in the big game breakdown, which I agree with, is that this isn't just replacing probably your second best overall player after Gillespie, but also this is a team that basically plays only 6 guys, so it's a good, 1/5 of your team basically is gone now. With the other 5 guys going to have to play the whole game. But with that said, they've been off all week. It's a Final Four game. You don't win, you got nothing else. So I think they're going to have heavy starter minutes, and I think they're capable of handling that. So the question becomes, is the line adjustment enough at 2.5 points? I think it's going to come down maybe to Jay Wright. I mean, this is one of the best coaches in the business. He's won national titles. He gets the most out of these teams. They play extremely slow. So I think you can make a case that Villanova and the under somewhat correlated in a 2-team parlay. Meanwhile, Kansas and the over could be as well. One thing I will point out about Justin Moore being out is he did miss a game earlier this year for Villanova back on February 5th. They played Connecticut at home, and they won that game by 11 against a good slow-down UConn team, and it was 85-74, 159 points. So I thought that was kind of interesting that the one game without Moore was actually much higher scoring than you would expect between two half-court teams, and they obviously won that game without him. They were 6 for 11, 55% from three-point range. He is their second three-point shooter on the team, so they didn't take nearly as many. He only took 11. UConn took 20 in that game, but they did outscore UConn by 10 points down low and from the free throw line by 7. So they were plus 17 from 2 points and free throws without Moore. You're going to probably have to do that against Kansas. It's a tougher job, though, as Kansas is a probably better front court team than UConn was, obviously.
Yeah, no, that was they were up by 23 in that game at one point. But Dave, the thing Moore does bring to the table is he doesn't turn the ball over, and when he hasn't been on the court this year, they turn it over, which is not a recipe for success against Kansas, though. But what about this line value? Did you find any?
Well, I adjusted Villanova for the Moore injury, and I came up with Kansas 5.5. So it's pretty much on the number, and makes it look. I know they're the biggest games of the year. Doesn't mean they're the best bets of the year. And as is often the case, when we get to the end of this tournament, I'm probably going to be on the sidelines. I'll be watching, and certainly looking to see if there's something I can go with in game, because we do now have that option. It's changed over the years, but I think the Moore injury is significant for a team that doesn't have a lot of depth, and Kansas is playing really good ball. I think you make an argument Kansas has been the best team in the tournament so far. I was very impressed by the way they handled Providence. Look, the Friars had a terrible first half. A lot of that had to do with Kansas. Then Providence makes the big run in the second half, gets the lead with, 4 or 5 minutes to play. And it's like, oh boy. And you know how the Friars have been in close games this year. And Kansas goes on a 7-0 run and puts the game away. The Friars didn't manage to cover the spread, but Kansas got the win. I just think Kansas might have a little much of an advantage here in depth. And while I don't think it's going to be a runaway by any means, they'll make their foul shots late in the game in all likelihood. So will Villanova, if it comes down to that. Both teams are excellent at the foul line. I think Kansas gets the win, though. And with the line where it is, I think that's the only side I could play. I won't be playing it. I'm pretty much done with college basketball as far as actually betting it, unless it's in-game. But my lean here is the Jayhawks.
All right, lean in the Jayhawks at this point. And, Drew, how about you? How do you approach this game? You looking at a side? Are you looking more total? What are you doing with it?
Well, Joe, actually both sides. I think that there's kind of interesting angles to both the side and the total here, Joe. First off, I agree with Steve's point in terms of Jay Wright as a head coach. I think that he's really underrated, a very good coach. And actually, I might be in the minority here. I think he's the best coach left. And I know it's Coach K, kind of the face of college basketball here, but Villanova has won 2 of the last 7 national championships. I don't think a lot of people realize, like, as a program, how far they've come. Now, in this game, Joe, with the Justin Moore injury, I think it's huge. And one thing I like to do in college basketball, handicapping, I've had some success doing it, is watch when one of the best players gets injured for really any team. And in the next game, watch how they change and go from that point forward and kind of bet on or look to fade this team. Now, we're not going to have that luxury because, like Steve talked about, the injury happened so late, so we couldn't really see what they did differently. So that's something I would take into effect if Villanova does get past Kansas in betting the national championship game. But in terms of betting this game, I think the total at 133, a little bit high. I think that Kansas, tempo-wise, they will kind of slow it down. 3 of the teams they played in the NCAA tournament, Joe, Texas Southern, Miami, and Creighton, they're teams that aren't running slow by any means. But a team Providence does similar kind of tempo metrics as Villanova, actually not as slow as Villanova. And that game only finished with 127 points. So that's what makes me look under here. Sidewise, I agree with I think Dave was mentioning here, Kansas, the best team in the tournament. I think that they've had the best tournament. They've looked very strong, very talented team. The only problem is I'm looking for angles to get on them, and actually I'll get to that in best bet. But in terms of laying the 4.5 now at most sports books, looking at the Wager Talk odds screen, I don't want to lay that type of number, especially to Villanova, who, by the way, guys, is going for the best free throw shooting percentage in NCAA tournament history. They're 53 of 59. That's 90% from the free throw line. So I don't like laying 4.5 to a team that is that good from the free throw line. So, Joe, that's what's keeping me off of laying the number. But I am going to be on the Jayhawks, and I'll tell you how, guys, in best bets.
I'll tell you what, Kansas better shoot free throws better than they did against Miami, because that was ugly. We do have, guys, we do have a second game there, guys, as well. And boy, oh boy, what a nightcap this is going to be, huh? As North Carolina and Duke are going to do battle here for a chance to head to the championship. Hard to believe all those years of success here in the tournament. Neither of these teams have ever faced one another in the tournament. Duke 4.5 with that total inched up to about 150, 151. Dave, is the public all over Duke here? Does that create any value, do you think?
No, I think the public is going to be as much against Duke as they're on them. Because, you got Coach K. I don't know. It's tough to gauge. I think it's a 50-50 game as far as the betting's concerned. If you look at the two matchups in the regular season, well, North Carolina was clearly the better team in the home game finale. Coach K. But Duke was, I thought Duke just rattled that game. There was a ton of pressure on them, and they just folded up like an accordion in that game. The other game, North Carolina was, Duke was the better team. I still think Duke's the better team. And the problem, though, is that North Carolina is on fire. And they've got a guy who's just out of his mind right now in the backcourt. Cool him off? I don't know. I haven't got the slightest idea what to do with this game. I wish I could give you something of even minimal substance, but I don't have anything. I think the line's about right. I make Duke 5, but I would be very uncomfortable laying it. So I'm just going to sit here and be a spectator and listen to what the guys have to say, and maybe I can pick up something off what they have, because I don't have anything myself. I don't want anybody to bet on what I'm giving them in this game, because number one, I haven't had a good NCAA tournament. Number two, I'm pretty much clueless on this game.
Dave's got a point there, Drew. Caleb Love is just guys in a zone right now. What both teams they've got sharpshooters all over the place. If are you looking at the total? Maybe that's the way to go here. These two have played and been profitable to the over this year. So how do you approach this game here?
Actually, Joe, totals wise, I think it's interesting. The push up here, I would actually, if you made me kind of bet the total, I would probably wait till tip off, thinking that the public money, the people like to watch overs more than unders, and then actually bet the under, where you got to remember, guys, this is in the Caesars Superdome where the New Orleans Saints play their home games. It's a football stadium. So the depth perception behind the basket is going to be different. It makes me kind of look towards unders. That's why I like the under in the Villanova-Kansas game. Also lean towards the under here, UNC and Duke as well. Now, granted, Duke's offense, the number one efficient offense in the country. So watch out here. This could be a total, maybe put one unit on it. You might get your face ripped off because it might be, 94-81 like last time these two played. But as long as you're okay with that, I do think that there's a little value on the under. And actually, towards Dave's point, I think he was on to something. Dave, I think you need to roll the dice a little bit. UNC, they are hot. 8 of the last 9, both straight up and against the spread. UNC, the Tar Heels, have been cashing. So I would ride the trend here. The trend is our friend in sports betting and in stock investing. I'm using that here. I think UNC's the side, Joe. Plus the fact the defense, a lot of talk about public bettors here in the Final Four concentrating on offense. And yes, Duke's offense is good, but actually UNC's defense has really improved here. Only an average of 58 points against in their last 5 non-overtime games. The game that did go to overtime, they held Baylor far below their season average shooting percentage. So I think this defense is kind of riding under the radar here. I did a piece on it on the show, college basketball show, under the radar on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Guys, check it out. But I think this defense riding under the radar, Joe, it's something to ride here. I took UNC +4 also sprinkled a little bit on the money line. I think UNC's got a shot to go to the national championship.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. 16 out of 19. That's what North Carolina is here, man. They've been getting it done down the stretch. What do you think, Merrill? Are you leaning one way or the other?
Well, one thing that's tricky about college basketball, more so than ever in recent decades, is that these guys are so young. So teams definitely a team now is a second-year team compared to November or December. In Carolina, their top 6 guys or their top 6 players, excuse me, are sophomores or younger, right? So this is definitely a better team probably than November and December. So I do think they're improved. They're better than the overall 8th seed that they got for their overall seasonal work. With that said, though, we do have to look at who they've played here in the tournament. Now, obviously, a huge fortunate matchup against St. Peter's. I had a strong best bet on North Carolina for my client Sunday. They got to play a 15 seed in the Elite Eight for the first time in history. So that was a cakewalk. Marquette, I thought, an overrated team in the first round. Now, I will give them credit for beating Baylor. Having a 25-point lead on Baylor is pretty damn impressive. And that UCLA game still has me befuddled. I like the Bruins, as my clients know. I liked the Bruins in that game last week. You look at how it played out. UCLA was plus 12 from 2-point range. The difference was 3-point shooting, as it often is. UNC took 17 more threes, and they were plus 15 points from 3-point range. But as Drew said, this game being played in the Superdome, it's the first game. The finals maybe Monday, they're more used to it. But the first game on Saturday, the sightlines could be an issue. And Caleb Love has been fantastic for this team. But he's been living and dying by the 3. In fact, he was 6 for 13 against UCLA. He was 6 for 13 against Marquette. That's 26 3-point shots in those 2 wins attempts. And Duke does not give up a lot of points from 2-point range. In fact, the way you beat Duke is from 3-point range. The way you beat Duke is from 2-point range. In fact, out of 358 teams, Duke gives up the 10th highest percentage of opponents' points from 2-point range, only 228th from 3-point range. So I think you make a case it's a decent matchup here. What's interesting is, we're talking about which side's the public on, Joe. As you know, I do my Fade the Public NFL video. I track this stuff very closely. I will tell you right now, UNC is a public underdog in this game by all the metrics I'm looking at. Kansas Villanova is a little more split, but UNC is going to be a public dog when this game tips off. And it's ironic to me because everyone was on Duke the last month or so that they couldn't possibly lose on a regular season game against UNC. They do. They couldn't possibly lose Coach K's last ACC tournament. They did. And by the way, I faded them with a strong best bet of Virginia Tech in that game. But now it looks like the public is kind of not playing Duke anymore. And Duke is starting to cover again, back-to-back covers. So we'll see how this plays out. Should be a great game to watch. And as far as the total, I actually think the over is worth a look. Opened 149.5, as you mentioned, up to 151. 154 and then the 170 range for those 2 regular season meetings. And if you look at the metrics, the percentages, everything was pretty much in line with the normal game. There was no extreme shooting one way or the other. UNC likes to play fast, and I think Duke, when given the opportunity, likes to play fast as well. And as Drew said, the best offense in the country. So I'd look at over 151 if you're looking at the total.
A lot of weapons on the court at one time there for both these teams. It should be a great one, guys, in the Final Four. But when you put it all together, we're winding down. Championship game tonight at the Garden. A couple of Final Four games. Also a basketball classic final coming up. When you look at everything here in totality, Drew, is there a game you got circled you like a little bit more than the rest right now?
Sure, Joe. 4 best bets. I'm going to do something a little bit differently here, guys. I'm not a huge futures bettor, but actually in this case, I think there's a reason why. When we talked about Kansas Villanova, Joe talked about how I didn't want to lay the points, 4.5 now with the Kansas Jayhawks. Just with Villanova and their free throw shooting. So actually I took them plus 180, guys, $100 better, risk 100 to win $180 to win the national championship. Because I don't want to lay the points against Villanova, but do want to take advantage of Villanova having that injury. I think they will take a step back. So I think Kansas gets to the national championship. And then also an interesting stat here, Joe. I think you'll like it. Ken Palm's ratings. It's the last 18 of the last 19 national champions in college basketball have ranked top 25 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. This season, we're going to have a participant most likely not qualify. The winner of the UNC Duke game is not going to qualify in terms of their defensive efficiency metrics to be top 25. Therefore, I think there's something to this, guys. A strong trend here, 18 of the last 19. that makes me take Kansas in the national championship game if they're lucky enough to get there. So at the plus 180, I think there's value here on the Kansas Jayhawks to cut down the nets at the end to win the national championship, Joe.
All right, great stuff there, Drew. How about it, Merrill? How you approaching best bet here? Where are you looking?
Well, I'll give Drew another reason to root for North Carolina because obviously I think that would be the weaker opponent for Kansas because obviously Duke's a 4-point favorite over UNC. But 20 of the last 21 national title winners have been a top 3 seed. So UNC would be the only team to buck that trend as well. So if Drew gets that matchup, he's got a 20 out of 21 angle working in that regards as well. I'm going to look at the total tonight for the NIT, though. Let's look at this NIT total. First, a reminder, I do have a 3-pack for the NCAA Final Four for Saturday. Both sides and my top total recommendation, 3-for-1 special. Also, NBA is red hot. We won again last night. Number one in NBA sides the last 11 months at WagerTalk.com since the end of last April. Playoffs around the corner now, 104-68, plus 113 units on NBA sides alone. So check out Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Free play for Thursday night. NIT finals tonight in Madison Square Garden. Let's look at over the total between Xavier and Texas A&M. Xavier likes to play fast. I think A&M will actually play more up-tempo than people realize. Their offensive rating for the season is above average. Both teams like to play faster in offense, and I think that'll get some points here. Both teams rely heavily on 2-point shooting. They also get a lot of points from the free throw line. Tight game, late championship game. We might see some extra fouls as well. So take a look at over 137.5 in the NIT finals tonight on Thursday. And don't forget NBA and NCAA Final Four. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Yeah, no, should be a fun one here tonight, guys. And also, don't forget baseball just around the corner. David mentioned he's already got some win totals up and on his page at WagerTalk.com. In fact, he's got a couple of nice write-ups already as well, some videos you can check out. Visit them, but do take advantage of this last day, the opportunity to hop on for a full season at a discounted price. Not going to be available, guys, so take advantage of it while it lasts. And Dave, which one of these games you leaning towards a little one way or the other?
Well, I guess it's kind of obvious, but Villanova team with not much depth and more is going to be a big absence. I factor that into the line. So do the odds makers. So it's not like I'm coming up with something the odds makers don't know about. The odds makers always know. But I'll go with Kansas for a lean as the best bet here on the show. I just think that they've got a chance to wear down a thin Villanova squad. And I would expect Kansas to be physical in this game. Try and turn it into a brawl. Because if you can get Villanova into any kind of foul trouble, that could be a real problem for the Wildcats. So best bet will be Kansas. And let's get the baseball started. Play ball, guys.
Boom! Let's get it done here, guys. All right, I'll take the one game we didn't talk about tomorrow night, and I'll lay the bucket here with Fresno State taking on Coastal Carolina, who, quite honestly, if it wasn't for two unbelievable miracle shots, we should be talking about South Alabama. But it is Coastal Carolina, who doesn't have an awful lot of experience playing Fresno State or Mountain West teams. So I think it's cheap enough. -3 there, Fresno State. I think they'll be your champions with the College Basketball Classic tomorrow night. Should be a fun one as well. And to recap one more time, guys, here's what you got. Drew taking a look at Kansas to win the national championships, value there at plus 180. Dave leading Kansas as well, laying the 4.5, while Merrill likes the over tonight. Xavier, Texas A&M at the Garden, over 137.5. And there will be one Mountain West team that had some success in the postseason. I think it's going to be Fresno State tomorrow, -3 to win the Classic, guys. And don't forget, over at WagerTalk.com, best bets are locked and loaded for these gentlemen. But take advantage of it, guys. The MLB right around the corner, the opportunity to get a discounted price right now on a full season. That is the way to do it with baseball, guys. It's going to be so much fun and so profitable with all three of these gentlemen. And get ready because First Pitch, that's coming your way too, hosted by Drew Martin, Steve Merrill, and Dave Koken. You will see them a lot, guys, when the baseball season starts. So grab that package now over at WagerTalk.com. All right, next time we talk, we will, in fact, have a championship game going on. We'll talk about that and what will be, in all likelihood, the final college basketball tip-off show. But until then, on behalf of Dave Koch and Steve Merrill and Drew Martin, guys, best of luck with your plays here tonight. We'll talk to you again soon. Good luck.
Yes, there will be baseball. After a 99-day lockout, we now have a complete 162-game schedule starting with opening day on April 7th. To celebrate the return of baseball, we want to do a wow promotion, so here we go. The first 50 customers will get the full season of MLB, including the playoffs, for just over $3 per day. How much of a wow is this? MLB through the All-Star break is priced at $7.95, and through the World Series is priced at $1,095. But the first 50 customers can get MLB through the World Series for $6.99. No coupon is needed, and this comes out to just over $3 per day. Once we hit 50 redemptions, the super early bird discount will come down, and the lowest possible price to lock in baseball will no longer be available. So act fast before you get shut out on our biggest price drop ever.